Well, who the heck are you then?
I'm Tom and I run Brian Theatrical Fancy Dress in Cardiff.
And I just bought some crazy costume off you to preach from Ecclesiastes on the streets of Swansea tomorrow.
Yes.
What's your take on Christianity? Do you think it's relevant for the 21st century?
At the moment, no, but I think when it was created 1,000 years ago, it was a fantastically good idea, and I think that its purpose is very, very good. I think that it possibly just needs to be made a bit more relevant for today. I think people who made up a lot of traditions and stuff, it was a very practical and good piece of advice. Everything makes sense in it, but I think it just needs to be kind of updated, and possibly some things got rid of and some things brought up to date, and possibly made a bit more concise as well, so everything's not taken so sort of literally and out of context.
That's awesome.
No problem.
Do you think the Bible is relevant then for the 21st century? Have you ever read it?
I've read some of it, and
yeah.
I went to a religious school. I think it's fair to say that I possibly lost some of its advice over time, but I think that the moral principles of it makes perfect sense, and I think it's got a good core to it. I just think that sometimes it's a weapon that can be used for good or evil, like any other piece of information. And I think largely it's relevant, especially to people who seek its advice. I think if people need to find answers, it can provide them. But I think also if you want to use, if you have a bad opinion or you want to give a bad piece of advice, you can also use it to vindicate whatever you want to say. It's so large and sort of and all-reaching that you can use it for any point you want to put across, no matter good or bad. So I think it's relevant. It's just sometimes it's relevant for good and sometimes it's not so relevant for all the wrong reasons.
That's a great answer. What about its absolute statements? So how would you take them?
And what sort of statement? Like, give me an example.
Absolute statements. Number one.
Yes.
You're a sinner.
Right. I think it entirely depends on the context. I think if you just took that as a statement and you could apply it to anything, and it's sort of. I don't know, it's a double-edged sword. When someone says something like, you're a sinner, and it makes them change for the positive, fantastic. I think that's absolutely brilliant. If you say you're a sinner and you just want to manipulate them to doing whatever you want them to do, and you're using it for, say, like a cult or something terrible like that, then that's awful, and you should totally not do it. That's bad thing. But that's just bad people using what could either be a good or a bad thing for whatever they want to use it for.
Okay, so if you could change one thing in the church,
Sure.
This is the last question.
Sure, no, you carry on.
These are great answers.
Thank
if you could change one thing, what would it be?
As like an organisation, or as like a purpose.
Both, either.
Okay, sure.
And if.
Yes. Okay. I think as an organisation, I think that. It should possibly even be split up and localised to tackle things a bit better. I know there's things like the local churches and stuff, but you often have the same guy going between 10 million churches simultaneously, and it's possibly each priest is a bit overstretched as an organisation and maybe not as relevant to each individual problem in each individual area as it could be. I think that's possible.
More focused then, really.
Right, definitely. I think it could be a bit more focused and possibly sometimes more integrated. I remember it used to be the heart of some village communities, and possibly in cities and stuff, not so much anymore. I mean, I know it sounds crazy, but you could always, use it for things like concerts and all sorts of other things. There's always things you can do. I think that's fair for anyone to say. You're not always. No one's ever doing everything they can be. You always have things to improve on. But
May I ask you, what's your church background yourself?
I have none. I'm kind of an atheist, but I like the Bible.
Yeah,
actually,
yeah.
I think that I think it's a wonderful thing, and some people it's changed them totally for the positive. And you can't knock something if it does good things. I mean, even if you don't believe it yourself,
Mate, you are awesome. I really appreciate you keeping your shop open to sell me this stuff late at night.
It's fine. It's no problem.
And also the interview, buddy. God bless you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye bye.